And can you look interested? I'll look this way. Which camera?
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're looking at newsreaders and presenters who were unable to hide their anger during live broadcasts.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
We're sort of at the dregs of what they've got available, and that Liz Truss is sort of like the backwash of the available MPs. I wouldn't say that because I'm incredibly right-wing.
Number 10. Krishnan Guru Murthy versus Richard Ayoade.
So if you were asking yourself a question now, what would it be?
I mean, couldn't you get anyone else to come?
Though he hid it well, we know from interviews Guru Murthy himself has given after the fact that throughout this segment with Richard Ayoade, he was seething through his laughter.
What would you then ask yourself?
You know the 2,000-year-old man that Mel Brooks played wasn't actually 2,000 years old?
Really?
He was still Mel Brooks.
Oh, okay.
It's not possible to...
Ayoade had apparently been ordered by his publisher to go and do press interviews for his book, though the rules of product placement on broadcast television demanded that he wasn't really allowed to promote the book properly.
But give me something in return. I mean, because
What
the
do
other
you want?
part of you is, well, look.
That was not a good chat-up line.
This meant that they had to talk about something else, but Ayoade didn't want to, and expertly evaded every single question Guru Murthy tried to ask him. It was like talking to a brick wall, but he had to fill the airtime somehow.
But Richard, thank you very much indeed for coming.
Don't thank me, I've done nothing for you.
Number 9. Adam Hills on Trump.
What have you done? You've elected a bright orange cartoon character who doesn't believe in climate change, said he wants to ban Muslims from travelling to America.
While Aussie comedian Adam Hills isn't a serious newsreader, the last leg does go out live, and he delivers the week's news with the tone that's required. He's also actually allowed to lose his temper, unlike the people in the top jobs over at the Beeb, and does so frequently.
Donald Trump responded to the nightclub shooting in Orlando by saying, if you had guns in that room, even if you had a number of people having it strapped to your ankle or strapped to their waist where bullets could have flown in the other direction right at him, you wouldn't have had the same kind of a tragedy.
Often, his anger is directed at the US, specifically on Trump and the gun lobby, as gun violence continues to spiral out of control in America. But he also attacks the British government frequently and gets just as angry. Sometimes it feels like Hills might be the most furious man on television, at least until the script for his rant is over.
Oh, I needed that. Oh, that's much better. Oh, it's been just burning. That was what it looks like when a man gets rid of a tumour.
Number 8. GMB versus Just Stop Oil.
Ed, because people listen to that.
Do you understand the consequences of what happens when we burn that oil?
Eco-protesters get many people's blood boiling, and ex-Shadow Chancellor Ed Balls was no exception. He was quick to say that he cares deeply about climate change, as we all do, before grilling a Just Stop Oil spokesperson they had on the show.
Sorry, that is completely unjustified.
It's not giving the climate crisis the care that it deserves.
Tobin covers this in a way that is completely unrivaled amongst other broadcasters. So I think that is a little bit unfair.
This was after the protesters invaded the track at Silverstone in 2022, in the middle of the Grand Prix.
Is there a point, do you think, when lives could be lost? I mean, to sit on a Formula One racetrack, they were still on the track, the drivers.
Susanna Reid got angry too, saying that Just Stop Oil isn't the only way to make news of the climate crisis heard, and that they do plenty to raise awareness through GMB's meteorologist. They were all shouting at each other by the end.
Your children in the
sorry, Laura Tobin does do that every day. I'm sorry, I will not have the fact that we
You have
don't
the
cover
opportunity.
climate change properly on this programme.
Certainly not
Neville
to the
does
degree
us.
that you should be.
Number 7. Kate Garraway versus Matt Hancock.
Yeah, I'm only human.
Sorry, the whole country's only human, Mr. Hancock.
Yeah, I understand that.
Why did we
I
all have to
understand
stick
that.
to the rules, but you were exempt?
Not only was Garraway struggling to control her rage during this interview, but a lot of other intense emotions came to the surface too. Garraway's husband Derek contracted COVID right at the start of the pandemic and would ultimately lose his life to it in January 2024.
You took accountability, as you say,
and I resigned.
and you were, quote, open about it, but you had no choice but to be open about it because the pictures of you in the embrace were leaked to the media.
This interview came in 2023, when Derek was still seriously ill, and Garraway only had difficult questions for the ex-health secretary.
Can you explain now, because I'm not sure people yet feel comfortable, why you did it?
He could do nothing but sit there and take it. barely able to justify how he could live with himself, having broken lockdown rules during a time when people were unable to visit their dying loved ones in hospital.
This is a policy that has been declared unlawful by the High Court.
Number 6. Protesters in the studio. Back in 1988, the 6 o'clock news was interrupted live by a group of protesting lesbians who managed to break into the BBC studio.
The 6 o'clock news from the BBC with Sue Lawley and Nicholas Witchell.
They were protesting Section 28, a now repealed piece of legislation that banned the promotion of sexuality and also included in its remit blocks on local councils doing things to promote safe sex.
House of Lords, a vote is taking place now on a challenge to the poll tax. Tory rebel.
But the newsreaders at the time weren't having any of it, with renowned journalist Nicholas Witchell sitting on one of the protesters and covering her mouth with his hand.
And the other one got behind the news desk where she was quite violently subdued by Nicholas Witchell, who's since apologised.
They spoke in interviews decades on and said that Witchell had apologised, especially since those protesters were on the right side of history where Section 28 was concerned. Number 5. Piers Morgan quitting. Not one but 2 presenters were furious during this broadcast of GMB.
I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, mate, but not my own
No.
stuff. See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do
This
this.
is absolutely diabolical behaviour.
Alex Beresford was sick and tired of Piers Morgan constantly going after Meghan Markle, while Morgan couldn't take even a jot of criticism and stormed off, quitting the show for good later that day.
This is a 2-hour trash-a-thon of our royal family, of the monarchy, of everything the Queen has worked so hard for.
But the rage didn't stop there. The following day, Susanna Reid had to announce to the nation that Piers had decided to leave, and you could tell that she, too, was angry about being left in the lurch with no permanent co-presenter.
But now Piers has decided to leave the programme. Some of you may cheer and others will boo.
It wasn't the first time Susanna got angry with Piers on live TV. Their bickering was a key selling point of the show, but it may have been the last. Number 4. Ice cream.
That was really good. It was definitely not too early. I bet you wish you were here now.
I don't like ice cream, Hannah.
This remains one of the weirdest things we've seen on BBC News, as brand new reporter Hannah Miller was sent to do a fluff piece on an ice cream factory. Sounds simple enough, but Naga Munchetti began arguing with Miller, saying that she didn't really like ice cream. Miller dealt with it well, but Munchetti got a stern telling off from a very angry Charlie State.
I think you rather brought the tone down there.
Oh, be quiet. Come on.
Well, but Hannah
I apologise.
She was working hard, doing the story, and then...
He was not happy with her, and made this known, not behind closed doors, but in front of the viewing public. Another time he nearly lost his temper with her was when he was trying to talk about a recording of sound on Mars, and she couldn't stop laughing.
It's nice when people pay attention, isn't it, what you're saying? It really is. Have you got a story?
Number 3. Everyone versus Liz Truss.
Is it time to reverse what you've done, bearing in mind what you've seen over the last few days, the damage it's caused to the pound?
Well, no, it isn't.
This didn't happen on live TV, but on live radio. Liz Truss's short-lived term as Prime Minister happened to coincide with that year's Conservative Party conference, and as is tradition, the party leader goes out to do a round of local radio interviews. Unfortunately, Truss had catastrophically crashed the economy only days previously, which turned what's supposed to be a simple group of interviews into an attack on her as a politician and as a person.
You've got the Bank of England stepping in now to try and clean up a mess a government has caused. That has never happened.
We have a very, very difficult economic global situation.
The local presenters pulled no punches, despite the fact that they were professionals working for the BBC, asking how she can possibly justify the mess she'd made of the country with just one mini-budget.
And Lydia says, are you ashamed of what you've done, are you?
I think we have to remember what situation this country was facing.
Number 2. Laura Kuenssberg versus Joe Lycett.
You said earlier that I'm not left or right. I know that there's been criticism in the Mail on Sunday today about lefty, liberal, wokey comedians on the BBC. I'm actually very right-wing.
A lot of people believe that the BBC's foremost political analyst, Laura Kuenssberg, is biased in favour of the Tories. This incident on her own flagship talk show would certainly speak to that, as comedian Joe Lycett was brought on to discuss Liz Truss's government.
I thought she was very clear. She gave great, clear answers. I know exactly what she's up to.
Lycett went on to talk about how right-wing he is and how he's a massive fan of Liz Truss. And Koonsberg wasn't having any of it. It begged the question why they wanted a professional comedian on the show if they didn't want to tolerate him making jokes. But this is what happened, with Koonsberg visibly frustrated at Lycett making jabs at Truss right after she'd been interviewed.
Most people watching at home who are worried about their bills are going to feel...
Point, Joe, forgive me. There's a
I'm not being
serious
sarcastic,
point. She said that there was a big package of help coming this week.
Yeah.
Number 1, Piers Morgan versus Helen Whately. Nobody saw it coming, but in the early days of the pandemic, Piers Morgan would become one of the few mainstream presenters who would actually be calling the government out for its mistakes.
I don't know why you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
You said
I'm telling you what it is. It's actually very serious.
This segment came during revelations that care homes were becoming deadly contagion sites for the illness. And Piers wanted answers about why care workers weren't being properly protected by the government.
Is it true that 4,000 people have died in care homes?
So we have been working incredibly hard.
When she kept laughing because of Piers reading out the headline of the newspaper he was holding up because she couldn't see it, he was quick to pick up on this. It's no wonder GMB was temporarily blacklisted by ministers.
I think it's really, really important to take the steps that we can.
I'll tell you what's really important is that you just answer straight questions. Is it true that 4,000 people... Why are you laughing?
Let us know in the comments which angry newsreader moments we missed.
Do you like brownies?
Not so much.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.